Brought to you by WikiVidi documentaries. Liberation Tigers of Tamil Eelam. The Liberation Tigers of Tamil Eelam was a Tamil militant organization that was based in northeastern Sri Lanka. Founded in May 1976 by Velupillai Prabhakaran, it waged a secessionist nationalist insurgency to create an independent state of Tamil Eelam in the north and east of Sri Lanka for Tamil people. This campaign led to the Sri Lankan Civil War, which ran from 1983 until 2009, when the LTTE was eventually defeated, with the financial and strategic help of China, by the Sri Lankan Armed Forces during the presidency of Mahinda Rajapaksa. Due to its military victories, policies, call for national self-determination, and constructive Tamil nationalist platform, the LTTE was supported by major sections of the Tamil community. University teachers for human rights claimed that, by combination of internal terror and narrow nationalist ideology, the LTTE succeeded in atomizing the community. It took away not only the right to oppose, but even the right to evaluate, as a community, the course they were taking. This gives a semblance of illusion that the whole society is behind the LTTE. At the height of its power, the LTTE possessed a well-developed militia and carried out many high-profile militant attacks, including the assassinations of several high-ranking Sri Lankan and Indian politicians. The LTTE was the only militant group to assassinate two world leaders, former Indian Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi in 1991 and Sri Lankan President Ranil Singh Premadasa in 1993. The LTTE invented suicide belts and pioneered the use of women in suicide attacks in warfare. It also acquired and used light aircraft in some of its attacks. Velupillai Prabhakaran headed the organization from its inception until his death in 2009. The LTTE was prescribed as a terrorist organization by 32 countries, including the European Union, United States, and India. Historical inter-ethnic imbalances between majority Sinhalese and minority Tamil populations are alleged to have created the background for the origin of the LTTE. Post-independent Sri Lankan governments attempted to rectify the disproportionate favouring and empowerment of Tamil minority by the colonial rulers, which led to discriminatory ethnic policies including the Sinhala Only Act, and gave rise to separatist ideologies among many Tamil leaders. By the 1970s, initial non-violent political struggle for an independent mono-ethnic Tamil state was used as justification for a violent secessionist insurgency led by the LTTE. Over the course of the conflict, the Tamil Tigers frequently exchanged control of territory in northeast Sri Lanka with the Sri Lankan military, with the two sides engaging in intense military confrontations. It was involved in 4 unsuccessful rounds of peace talks with the Sri Lankan government over the course of the conflict. At its peak in 2000, the LTTE was in control of 76% of the landmass in the northern and eastern provinces of Sri Lanka. At the start of the final round of peace talks in 2002, the Tamil Tigers controlled a 15,000 square kilometers area. After the breakdown of the peace process in 2006, the Sri Lankan military launched a major offensive against the Tigers, defeating the LTTE militarily and bringing the entire country under its control. Human rights groups criticized the nature of the victory, which included the internment of Tamil civilians in concentration camps with little or no access to outside agencies. Victory over the Tigers was declared by Sri Lankan President Mahinda Rajapaksa on 16 May 2009, and the LTTE admitted defeat on 17 May 2009. Prabhakaran was killed by government forces on 19 May 2009. Selvarasa succeeded Prabhakaran as leader of the LTTE, but he was later arrested in Malaysia and handed over to the Sri Lankan government in August 2009. Background: in the early 1970s, United Front government of Siramavo Bandaranaike introduced the policy of standardization to rectify the low numbers of Sinhalese being accepted into university in Sri Lanka. A student named Satyazilan formed Tamil Manava Paravai. To counter this group comprised Tamil youth who advocated the rights of students to have fair enrollment. Inspired by the failed 1971 insurrection of Janatha Vimukti Peramana, it was the first Tamil insurgent group of its kind. It consisted of around 40 Tamil youth, including Panuthurai Shivakumaran, K. Pathmanabu and Velupillai Prabhakaran, an 18-year-old youth, from single-caste-oriented Valvetithurai. In 1972, Prabhakaran teamed up with Chetty Thanabalasingam, Jaffna to form the Tamil New Tigers, with Thanabalasingam as its leader. After he was killed, Prabhakaran took over. At the same time, Nadaraja Thangathurai and Selvaraja Yogachandran were also involved in discussions about an insurgency. They would later create a separate organization named Tamil Eelam Liberation Organization to campaign for the establishment of an independent Tamil Eelam. These groups, along with another prominent figure of the armed struggle, Pannuthurai Shivakumaran, were involved in several hit-and-run operations against pro-government Tamil politicians, Sri Lanka police, and civil administration during the early 1970s. These attacks included throwing bombs at the residence and the car of SLFP Jaffna Mayor, Alfred Durariappa, placing a bomb at a carnival held in the stadium of Jaffna City, and nearly bank robbery. The 1974 Tamil Conference incident also sparked the anger of these militant groups. Both Shivakumaran and Prabhakaran attempted to assassinate Durariappa in revenge for the incident. Shivakumaran committed suicide on 5 June 1974, to evade capture by police. On 27 July 1975, Prabhakaran assassinated Durariappa, who was branded as a traitor by TELF and the insurgents alike. Prabhakaran shot and killed the mayor when he was visiting the Krishnan temple at Ponilai. Founding and rise to power. The LTTE was founded on 5 May 1976 as the successor to the Tamil New Tigers. Uma Maheshwaran became its leader, and Prabhakaran its military commander. A 5-member committee was also appointed. It has been stated that Prabhakaran sought to refashion the old TNT/new LTTE into an elite, ruthlessly efficient, and highly professional fighting force. By the terrorism expert Rohan Gunaratna, Prabhakaran kept the numbers of the group small and maintained a high standard of training. The LTTE carried out low-key attacks against various government targets, including policemen and local politicians. TELF support. Tamil United Liberation Front leader Apapilla Amirthalingam, who was in 1977 elected as the opposition leader of Sri Lanka Parliament, clandestinely supported the LTTE. Amirthalingam believed that if he could exercise control over the Tamil insurgent groups, it would enhance his political position and pressure the government to agree to grant political autonomy to Tamils. Thus, he provided letters of reference to the LTTE and to other Tamil insurgent groups to raise funds. Both Uma Maheshwaran and Urmila Kondia, first female member of the LTTE, were prominent members of the TELF youth wing. Maheshwaran was the secretary of TELF Tamil Youth Forum, Colombo branch. Amirthalingam introduced Prabhakaran to N.S. Krishnan, who later became the first international representative of LTTE. It was Krishnan who introduced Prabhakaran to Anton Balasingam, who later became the chief political strategist and chief negotiator of LTTE, which split for the first time in 1979. Uma Maheshwaran was found to be having a love affair with Urmila Kondia, which was against the code of conduct of LTTE. Prabhakaran ordered him to leave the organization. Uma Maheshwaran left LTTE and formed People's Liberation Organization of Tamil Eelam in 1980. In 1980, Unush Richard Jayawardene's government agreed to devolve power by the means of district development councils upon the request of TELF. By this time, LTTE and other insurgent groups wanted a separate state. They had no faith in any sort of political solution. Thus the TELF and other Tamil political parties were steadily marginalized, and insurgent groups emerged as the major force in the north. During this period of time several other insurgent groups came into the arena, such as Eros, Tilo, Plot, Ipruf and Tela. LTTE ordered civilians to boycott the local government elections of 1983 in which TELF contested. Voter turnout became as low as 10%. Thereafter, Tamil political parties were largely unable to represent Tamil people as insurgent groups took over their position. Tirunelveli attack, 1983. The LTTE carried out its first major attack on the 23rd of July 1983, when they ambushed Sri Lanka Army Patrol 44 Bravo at Tirunelveli, Jaffna. 13 Sri Lankan servicemen were killed in the attack, leading to the Black July. Some consider Black July to be a planned rampage against the Tamil community of Sri Lanka, in which the JVP movement and sections of the government were implicated. Many outraged Tamil youths joined Tamil militant groups to fight the Sri Lankan government, in what is considered a major catalyst to the insurgency in Sri Lanka. Indian support. In reaction to various geopolitical and economic factors, from August 1983 to May 1987, India, through its intelligence agency Research and Analysis Wing, provided arms, training and monetary support to 6 Sri Lankan Tamil insurgent groups including the LTTE. During that period, 32 camps were set up in India to train these 495 LTTE insurgents, including 90 women who were trained in 10 batches. The first batch of Tigers were trained in Establishment 22 based in Chakrata, Uttarakhand. The second batch, including LTTE Intelligence Chief Pottu Aman, trained in Himachal Pradesh. Prabhakaran visited the first and the second batch of Tamil Tigers to see them training. 8 other batches of LTTE were trained in Tamil Nadu. Then Rajaratnam alias Stanu, who carried out the assassination of Rajiv Gandhi and Shiva Asan, the key conspirator, were among the militants trained by RAW, in Nainital, India. In April 1984, the LTTE formally joined a common militant front, the Eelam National Liberation Front, a union between LTTE, the Tamil Eelam Liberation Organization, the Eelam Revolutionary Organization of Students, the People's Liberation Organization of Tamil Eelam, and the Eelam People's Revolutionary Liberation Front. Clashes with other insurgent groups. TILO usually held the Indian view of problems and pushed for India's view during peace talks with Sri Lanka and other groups. LTTE denounced the TILO view and claimed that India was only acting on its own interest. As a result, the LTTE broke from the ENLF in 1986. Soon fighting broke out between the TILO and the LTTE and clashes occurred over the next few months. As a result, almost the entire TILO leadership, and at least 400 TILO militants were killed by the LTTE. The LTTE attacked training camps of the IPKF a few months later, forcing it to withdraw from the Jaffna Peninsula. Notices were issued to the effect that all remaining Tamil insurgents join the LTTE in Jaffna and in Madras, where the Tamil groups were headquartered. With the major groups including the TILO and IPKF eliminated, the remaining 20 or so Tamil insurgent group were then absorbed into the LTTE, making Jaffna an LTTE-dominated city. Another practice that increased support by Tamil people was LTTE's members taking an oath of loyalty which stated LTTE's goal of establishing a state for the Sri Lankan Tamils. In 1987 LTTE established the Black Tigers, a unit responsible for conducting suicide attacks against political, economic, and military targets, and launched its first suicide attack against a Sri Lankan army camp, killing 40 soldiers. LTTE members were prohibited from smoking cigarettes and consuming alcohol in any form. LTTE members were required to avoid their family members and avoid communication with them. Initially LTTE members were prohibited from having love affairs or sexual relationships as it could deter their prime motive, but this policy changed after Prabhakaran married Mathivathani Rambu in October 1984. IPKF period. In July 1987, faced with growing anger among its own Tamils and a flood of refugees, India intervened directly in the conflict for the first time by initially airdropping food parcels into Jaffna. After negotiations, India and Sri Lanka entered into the Indo-Sri Lanka Accord. Though the conflict was between the Tamil and Sinhalese people, India and Sri Lanka signed the peace accord instead of India influencing both parties to sign a peace accord among themselves. The peace accord assigned a certain degree of regional autonomy in the Tamil areas, with Eelam People's Revolutionary Liberation Front controlling the regional council, and called for the Tamil militant groups to surrender. India was to send a peacekeeping force, named the Indian Peacekeeping Force, part of the Indian Army, to Sri Lanka to enforce the disarmament and to watch over the regional council. war against IPKF. Although the Tamil militant organizations did not have a role in the Indo-Lanka Agreement, most groups, including IPKF, TILO, EROS, and BLOT, accepted it. LTTE rejected the accord, because they opposed Mahinda Rajapaksa as the chief ministerial candidate for the merged northeastern province. The LTTE named 3 alternate candidates for the position, who India rejected. The LTTE subsequently refused to hand over their weapons to the IPKF. After 3 months of tensions, LTTE declared war on IPKF on 7 October 1987. Thus LTTE engaged in military conflict with the Indian Army, and launched its first attack on an Indian Army rations truck on 8 October, killing 5 Indian para-commandos who were on board by strapping burning tires around their necks. The Government of India stated that the IPKF should disarm the LTTE by force. The Indian Army launched assaults on the LTTE, including a month-long campaign, Operation Pawan, to win control of the Jaffna Peninsula. The ruthlessness of this campaign, and the Indian Army's subsequent anti-LTTE operations, made it extremely unpopular among many Tamils in Sri Lanka. Premadasa government support. The Indian intervention was also unpopular among the Sinhalese majority. Prime Minister Ranil Singh Premadasa pledged to withdraw IPKF as soon as he is elected president during his presidential election campaign in 1988. After being elected, in April 1989, he started negotiations with LTTE. President Premadasa ordered the Sri Lanka Army to clandestinely hand over arms consignment to the LTTE to fight the IPKF and its proxy, the Tamil National Army. These consignments included rebounds per game guns, mortars, self-loading rifles, T-81 automatic rifles, T-56 automatic rifles, pistols, hand grenades, ammunition, and communications sets. Moreover, millions of dollars were also passed on to the LTTE. After IPKF, the last members of the IPKF, which was estimated to have had a strength of well over 100,000 at its peak, left the country in March 1990 upon the request of President Premadasa. Unstable peace initially held between the government and the LTTE, and peace talks progressed towards providing devolution for Tamils in the north and east of the country. A ceasefire held between LTTE and the government from June 1989 to June 1990, but broke down as LTTE massacred 600 police officers in the eastern province. Fighting continued throughout the 1990s, and was marked by 2 key assassinations carried out by the LTTE, those of former Indian Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi in 1991, and Sri Lankan President Ranil Singh Premadasa in 1993. Using suicide bombers on both occasions. The fighting briefly halted in 1994 following the election of Chandrika Kumaratunga as President of Sri Lanka and the onset of peace talks. But fighting resumed after LTTE sank 2 Sri Lankan Navy boats in April 1995. In a series of military operations that followed, the Sri Lanka Army recaptured the Jaffna Peninsula. Further offensives followed over the next 3 years, and the military captured large areas in the north of the country from the LTTE, including areas in the Vani region, the town of Kilunakchi, and many smaller towns. From 1998 onward, the LTTE regained control of these areas, which culminated in the capture in April 2000 of the strategically important Elephant Pass Space Complex, located at the entrance of the Jaffna Peninsula, after prolonged fighting against the Sri Lanka Army. Mahataya, a one-time deputy leader of LTTE, was accused of treason by the LTTE and killed in 1994. He is said to have collaborated with the Indian Research and Analysis Wing to remove Prabhakaran from the LTTE leadership. 2002 ceasefire. In 2002, the LTTE dropped its demand for a separate state, instead demanding a form of regional autonomy. Following the landslide election defeat of Kumaratunga and Ranil Wickremesinghe coming to power in December 2001, the LTTE declared a unilateral ceasefire. The Sri Lankan government agreed to the ceasefire, and in March 2002 the ceasefire agreement was signed. As part of the agreement, Norway and other Nordic countries agreed to jointly monitor the ceasefire through the Sri Lanka Monitoring Mission. 6 rounds of peace talks between the government of Sri Lanka and LTTE were held, but they were temporarily suspended after the LTTE pulled out of the talks in 2003, claiming certain critical issues relating to the ongoing peace process. In 2003, the LTTE proposed an interim self-governing authority. This move was approved of by the international community, but rejected by the Sri Lankan president. The LTTE boycotted the presidential election in December 2005. While LTTE claimed that the people under its control were free to vote, it is alleged that they used threats to prevent the population from voting. The United States condemned this. The new government of Sri Lanka came into power in 2006 and demanded to abrogate the ceasefire agreement, stating that the ethnic conflict could only have a military solution, and that the only way to achieve this was by eliminating the LTTE. Further peace talks were scheduled in Oslo, Norway, on 8 and 9 June 2006, but cancelled when the LTTE refused to meet directly with the government delegation, stating its fighters were not being allowed safe passage to travel to the talks. Norwegian mediator Erik Solheim told journalists that the LTTE should take direct responsibility for the collapse of the talks. Rifts grew between the government and LTTE, and resulted in a number of ceasefire agreement violations by both sides during 2006. Suicide attacks, military skirmishes, and air raids took place during the latter part of 2006. Between February 2002 to May 2007, the Sri Lanka monitoring mission documented 3,830 ceasefire violations by the LTTE, with respect to 351 by the security forces. Military confrontation continued into 2007 and 2008. In January 2008, the government officially pulled out of the ceasefire agreement. Brought to you by WikiVidi documentaries. Would you like to know more?